Hey guys, I wanted to make a video talking about my thoughts on the current state of vinyl and kind of getting into the topic on if I'm done record collecting. I started record collecting in May of 2020. I can't believe it's been 5 years. It's been so long, but it also feels like it's gone by so fast, which is such a crazy, weird feeling. And I wanted to make a video just reflecting on that and kind of thinking about now what my current thoughts are on the state of vinyl and records in 2025. When I started collecting in 2020, obviously we all know what happened that year. So I was definitely online a lot more and buying more and more records. So there have been ups and downs. There were periods where I was buying a ton of records every month, and there have been some periods more recently where I'm not really buying that many records anymore. My passion for music and vinyl has not decreased. It's pretty much stayed the same since I've started, and even now to this day I'm still very passionate and excited about music, new music, older music, vinyl, CDs, streaming, all of that. So it's not necessarily a passion type of thing. It's just about collecting stuff and buying things, I guess. I have a long list of reasons as to why I've stopped record collecting lately, or just why I've slowed down on buying vinyl recently within the past 6 months. The main thing is just the prices. Honestly, brand new vinyl, new releases are way too expensive. There are a number of releases that I should be excited for from artists and bands that I love, but I'm just not excited about the vinyl release because of how much money it is. I made a list. There are new albums from Callum Hood, Michael Clifford, Avicii, Zed's anniversary of True Colors album pressing, and also a Destiny 2 soundtrack vinyl coming, and these prices are just so high. Like, it's gonna cost around like $40 average for all of these per record. So that's just $200 right there if I were to get all of these pressings that are coming out within the next couple of months. Like, I really should be excited about these vinyl releases and these pre-orders, but I'm just not. Like, I don't have that same passion about pre-orders and new releases as I used to, and a lot of that is because of how expensive these new records are. You know, money and finances is a very big part of record collecting. Like, I don't really want to spend my money on vinyl anymore, or not as much as I used to. Like, where I'm at in my life right now, I just want to save my money. I don't see the need to be spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars every month on vinyl, even though I can. I just don't want to. I'd rather save for the future life expenses, and also something too I've realized, I would rather put that money towards an experience, like a concert or a trip. I guess mainly concerts. Like, I would rather spend $100 to go see my favorite artist instead of spending $100 on 2 or 3 records, you know? These days where I'm spending less money, I want to put the money I am spending towards experiences and stuff like that. So that's why I'm prioritizing concerts and trips right now rather than spending my money on vinyl. I've kind of like stopped pre-ordering records. I just kind of don't get the hype anymore. And for me personally, I want to stop pre-ordering records I haven't heard yet. Like, you can obviously pre-order new music and new albums, and I've just stopped doing that because for me personally, I only want to buy records that I like the whole album. I don't want to waste $40 on a record if I only like 3 or 4 songs, you know? And obviously when there's album pre-orders, you really only have heard the singles, and if I don't like the rest of the album, I feel like I'm out the money and I feel like I don't need the vinyl pressing. And there are a couple of records in my collection where I pre-ordered them and I didn't like the album as much as I thought I would, so I felt like I kind of wasted my money. Like, for example, from 5 Seconds of Summer, Callum and Michael have albums coming out this summer and you can pre-order them now, but I just haven't because I want to hear the full album first. Like, I don't know if I'm going to love the entire project. I really like the singles, but I just don't know if I like them enough to get them on vinyl, and I don't know if they have completely sold me yet on the music, and that's just a personal thing. Like, that's just my personal opinion and music taste. A lot of people will pre-order them and they end up liking the album, you know, and some people don't really care about pre-orders or even how it sounds. Like, there are plenty of people who just buy the pre-orders to support the artist, which is fine. Even though I love Five Sauce and I love Callum and Michael, I don't want to just buy their record just because they made it. Like, I want to make sure I love the music and I want to listen to it, you know, because again, I only want records in my collection that I will listen to, and if I buy something and I don't like the album, then what's the point of even having it? That's just how I feel about it. That's how I am now. I only buy records where I like 90% of the songs. So I've kind of stopped pre-ordering music. It's very rare now that I will pre-order a new album. I haven't pre-ordered a record in, I don't know, it's been almost a year, I think. I don't know, it's just sometimes I feel like I wish I didn't have to pre-order things, or I wish like the release dates would be sooner than they are. And sometimes things are also delayed. I've had to wait upwards of 6 months to a year for a single vinyl pressing, which is absolutely insane. Luckily, things aren't as extreme as that around like the 2020, 2021 years. Shipping delays have gotten a lot better, but still sometimes things get delayed and it's just so annoying, especially when I paid $50 for a vinyl and now I have to wait even longer for it. It just doesn't really encourage me to keep buying more records, you know, if I'm having to keep on waiting and waiting. So really the only vinyl I'm buying these days are new releases from modern popular artists, like mainstream stuff. So they're mostly the people who are doing pre-orders these days, and I've heard some pretty crazy stories lately with The Weeknd, Charlie XCX, and Beyonce. I actually watched a few YouTube videos about this, which I found very interesting, and how their pre-orders are scams, or like some fans feel like they were scammed by the pre-order system for these new albums that are coming out, like The Weeknd, Hurry Up Tomorrow, and Brat, and Cowboy Carter, I think it was. Like the first releases of these new albums that were available for pre-order, people were saying that the websites were kind of misleading and it was like a scam because the websites didn't list the track list. So the first versions of the records available for pre-order didn't have the full albums, and it was like basically an incomplete album that people are paying for. And then also too, with a lot of pre-orders, a few weeks after the initial one, there will be a new announcement with a new version or a new variant with extra songs or a different cover, signed copies, different colored variants. So that's why I'm not really quick to jump on pre-orders these days, because I feel like with a lot of mainstream albums, they end up doing multiple different pre-orders. Might as well wait for like the deluxe edition, you know? Like with Brat, there were multiple different copies of that, and artists tend to announce like so many different versions of their vinyl. So now automatically when I see a new album out, I don't want to buy the first pre-order because I feel like down the road there is going to be a deluxe edition or maybe a signed copy or something. So usually the first one isn't always the best to go with, but then it is kind of like misleading marketing. I don't know if it's necessarily a scam, but it is very misleading. Like there's not enough incentive to buy the first pre-order, and the fans who bought the first edition sometimes can't cancel their orders or they can't return it, so they're kind of screwed over. The people who wait end up getting the better versions of the album because those ones have bonus material. Yeah, so that's why these days I feel like pre-orders can be kind of scammy. That makes me super cautious about buying new records these days. I want quality over quantity in my collection. I only want the best of the best, in my opinion. I just want to keep my favorite stuff in my collection, which is why I purge every now and then, and that's why I've stopped most pre-orders and I only buy albums where I like the majority of the songs. So I don't need to have every single vinyl variant. I don't need every single different edition and multiple copies of the same album. I'm not really for the whole materialism aspect of record collecting, and that's just a personal opinion of mine, but you know, I only want to buy albums that I'm actually going to open and listen to. I'm only buying one copy of an album. I don't need different colored variants and stuff like that. So that's also why I've stopped buying a lot of records and I only get one variant per album. And I also support purging. I've talked about it a lot before, but basically, you know, I just like having a curated collection. I only want to keep my favorite albums. So every now and then I purge the stuff that I don't listen to anymore, and I don't mind doing that. I have no regrets with it. I know that if I'm over an album, I don't really listen to it that much anymore, then I don't see the need to keep it in my collection. And my record collection is pretty full, and I've invested about $2,000 into my collection over the past 5 years, which honestly is not a ton of money considering it's only been 5 years. I just made a video trying to find out how much I spent on my total collection, so check that video out if you want more details. I think the value of it is going to go up in time. Like, I don't really see the need to keep spending and putting more money and effort into my collection. Like, I'm good where it is right now. And like I said, it is pretty full, so that's why I do purge every now and then. Like, when I buy a record, I kind of just put it in the shelf and I don't touch it until I listen to it. So for me, it's kind of like all of the money I've put into my collection is just sitting in the shelf and it's not really being used until I play it. When you collect different things, it's just like it kind of sits there, or at least that's how I see my collection right now. Like, I don't even play my records as much as I used to anymore, just because I'm working a lot more now. I don't have as much free time as I used to. So when I buy a new record, I try to play it as much as possible. But nowadays, since I'm busier easier. I just don't get to play the records as much. I don't know if I would necessarily say it's a waste of money, but I want to get as many plays as I can out of my records because I do spend a lot of money on them. That's also what kind of stops me from spending a lot of money on vinyl. Like if I'm spending $40 on a record, I want to set aside time to play it and listen to it and get use out of it. I just don't like spending money on vinyl and then just having it sit in a shelf and it never gets touched or played, you know? So to kind of wrap things up, I will say I am not done record collecting. I'm not just going to stop, but it's not the end of my journey. I'm still going to be record collecting for the foreseeable future. The only thing is that I've slowed down a lot. I've bought way less vinyl now compared to when I started for all of the reasons I just talked about. I think it's a really interesting topic, so let me know your thoughts in the comments. You can comment on anything I talked about in this video or anything I might have missed. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!